What is going on, guys? So we're currently at our stock tune because we had to get our state and emissions inspections completed. In order to pass those, we had to go back to our regular stock tune because the emissions will fail. They will be not ready and complete with the Diablo tune. So we had to take everything back to stock, then take the vehicle in to get inspected. And as you can see, we're good. We're fully inspected, but in this video, we will cover a few issues we had, and these things will be helpful to you if you have any Diablo Sport tuner, if you have the Predator 2, the Intune 13, or the T2. The things that are being explained in this video may be helpful, or if you plan on getting a Diablo Sport tuner, certainly these things will be helpful for you in the future. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. If you found a video helpful, give it a thumbs up. All right, let's get right into the video. So in order to pass inspections, as I said, we had to go back to our original stock tune. Now, right off the bat, if we start it, so right off the bat, you see the ABS service anti-lock brake system light came on, and I'm going to explain exactly how this happened, because even after inspections, the ABS light is still on, but it passed. It's a generic code, but let me explain everything. Now, before we went to get the vehicle inspected, I went to AutoZone, and their scan tools cannot read ABS lights. Advanced Auto Parts, their scan tools cannot read ABS lights. It was a generic code. Nothing's wrong with the vehicle. The first thing we did was we checked our brakes. We checked for any fluid leaks. We checked the master cylinder. Brakes are working fine, but what threw the code was the incorrect tire size. It was a generic code. When we got to the shop where we got our vehicle inspected, they pulled it up with one of them high-tech scanners, like a $5,000 scan tool, and it came up for that ABS light as an incorrect tire size. So that's kind of weird how the ABS is connected to the tire size. Well, it actually makes sense because the wheels are part of the tires is connected to the brakes and so forth. So that ABS code actually came up for incorrect tire size, which the tuner was unable to adjust when we went back to stock. So it all makes sense, but they pass. You can still pass with a ABS light. You can still pass emissions inspections with an ABS light on. It was just a generic code. So now that code may disappear once we go back to our Diablo tune, and then we can use the scan tool, the Diablo scan tool, to remove it possibly. But we'll see in the future. We'll let you guys know. So before our inspections, we have to remove our Diablo Sport hookup, and we had to go back to take everything back to stock tune. So the very first thing we did was we got our Diablo Sport tuner and we took everything back to stock. So when we were going back to stock through the tuner, I never got a reading on the screen that said, okay, stock tune is now complete and so forth, or something of that nature. You're now back to stock tune. We just kept getting a incorrect tire size failure on the screen. And that kept coming up. I called Diablo Sport. We troubleshooted things. We went through the process. We did everything you can think of. We troubleshooted it and finally got back to stock. But the thing was, never once did it come up on the screen, okay, stock tune is complete, or you are now back to stock. And that was the issue I had, because usually when you do the Diablo tune, it'll tell you your vehicle has been successfully tuned with a 93 octane tune or whatever tune you have, but that never showed on the screen. So come to think of, the tune was actually going through after several times of going back to our stock tune. It was actually going through, and we know that because Diablo, they typed in my serial number and they were able to wirelessly see if my vehicle indeed went back to stock, and it did. And that's a helpful thing about the Diablo Sport troubleshooting. All they have to do is pull up your serial number, and remotely they can see what tunes are in your vehicle, all the things you've done, all the parameters that you changed. They can remotely see that through the website. Once they type in your serial number in it, they have access to all those files, so they can really be helpful if you're having an issue going back to stock or tuning your vehicle in any way. So we got that resolved. We went back to stock, but again, we got the incorrect tire size failure. And that's because when we put on our 22-inch wheels, we had to adjust our tire size through the tuner. So otherwise, if we didn't adjust our tire size through the tuner, our speedometer would be off and things would be going out of whack. So we had to adjust that, but we couldn't readjust it when going back to the stock tune. After the stock tune was complete, we removed our bypass module, this little thing here, and it just has two connectors there. And the bypass module actually hooks up right up in here. I have a whole installation video on that as well, but we're going to be hooking it back up once we go back to our Diablo tune. After that, we removed our modified PCM, which is this baby here. And I highly recommend getting a modified PCM because you don't want to do anything with your stock PCM. The forums, I've read some terrible things on the forums. Their PCM was locked up. They lost all kind of functions and they couldn't get it back. So the best way to go is to get a used PCM for your vehicle. I was able to get this at a salvage yard for $200. And this is from a 2018 Dodge Durango that was totaled. So this here is my unlocked modified PCM. And whenever I go back to my Diablo tune, I'm going to be hooking this back in. After that, we just unhooked our cable. This goes to the Diablo Sport tuner, and this hooks up to your OBD2 port. And then you can just go in there and hook it up that way. Now, a question that came to mind with Diablo Sport, I asked them, do I have to hook back up the bypass module when I go back to my Diablo tune? They says, no, you do not have to hook this back up because the tune, the 93 octane Diablo tune, is now flashed to this unlocked PCM. It's now married to that unless I go in there and change it. So the only time I need this bypass module is if I want to adjust some things or change parameters. This has to be hooked up when you want any communication from the tuner. The bypass module has to be hooked up. But if you just want to go back to your regular tune that you had flashed to your modified PCM, all you have to do is reconnect your PCM and leave it at that. But we're going to change a few parameters, so we're going to hook up our bypass module and our modified PCM. So we'll do that shortly. Now, when we were unhooking our modified PCM, we ran into an issue where these tabs here, a couple of the catches end up stripping. So there's about 4 catches. You'll pull up on the connector and it'll force it out, and then you can lift up on these connectors. But these things are very, very fragile, and you have to be very careful when removing it. But we'll do a video on that as well. I'll show you guys how to safely remove this without having to worry about these connectors stripping. So stay tuned for that video. Also, while we were at the shop getting our car inspected, they told me that I cannot have tint on the windshield. Even though this is only a 70% tint, they said it is illegal. As you can see, they had the cut there to put the stickers on. And this little thing here, this is the line where you can have a tint strip. Anything below that is illegal. You can't have tint below this little arrow there. And so we're going to eventually remove the tint. And the reason I got the tint was because just to keep the vehicle cooler. But we are fully back to stock, got our stickers, everything's a go. And it's looking pretty good. But again, make sure you guys stay tuned for the PCM video. I'll show you guys exactly how to connect that and disconnect it safely. Now, if you found this video helpful, guys, make sure you Give it a thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for the next video. Alex is RT Live signing off.